The majestic life of a peacock, nature's living rainbow. In the grand theater of the natural world, few creatures command attention quite like the peacock. With its resplendent plumage that seems to capture every hue of the rainbow and an attitude that speaks of ancient royalty, the peacock stands as one of nature's most magnificent showmen. These extraordinary birds, whose very name has become synonymous with beauty and pride, represent far more than mere aesthetic wonder. They embody millions of years of evolutionary artistry, complex social behaviors, and remarkable adaptations that have allowed them to thrive across diverse landscapes. The peacock, scientifically known as Pavo cristatus for the Indian species and Pavo muticus for the green peacock, belongs to the pheasant family Phasianidae. While technically only males are called peacocks and females are peahens, collectively known as peafowl, common usage has made peacock the universal term for these spectacular birds. Their story is one of survival, adaptation, and the relentless pursuit of reproductive success through one of nature's most dazzling displays. Origins and evolution. A tale written in feathers. The evolutionary journey of peacocks stretches back approximately 20 million years, with their ancestors emerging in the dense forests of Southeast Asia. Fossil evidence suggests that early peafowl were ground-dwelling birds that gradually developed their extraordinary plumage through the powerful forces of sexual selection. The peacock's tail, or more accurately its train, represents one of the most extreme examples of sexual selection in the animal kingdom, a phenomenon that fascinated Charles Darwin and continues to captivate scientists today. The development of the peacock's elaborate train seems almost paradoxical from a survival standpoint. These magnificent feathers, which can span up to 6 feet in width, would appear to be a liability rather than an asset. They make flight more difficult, increase energy expenditure, and create a more visible target for predators. Yet nature's logic operates on principles that extend beyond simple survival. The peacock's train serves as a billboard of genetic fitness, advertising the male's health, vigor, and desirability as a mate. Archaeological evidence and ancient texts reveal that humans have been enchanted by peacocks for millennia. Ancient civilizations from Greece to India revered these birds, incorporating them into religious ceremonies, royal courts, and artistic expressions. The bird's association with immortality, renewal, and divine beauty spans cultures and continents, suggesting that the human fascination with peacocks taps into something fundamental about our appreciation for natural beauty. Physical magnificence. Anatomy of beauty. The male peacock's most striking feature is undoubtedly his train, composed of up to 200 elongated upper tail coverts that can measure over 4 feet in length. Each feather is a masterpiece of natural engineering, featuring the famous eye, or ocellus at its tip. These iridescent spots contain microscopic structures called barbules that manipulate light through interference patterns, creating colors that seem to shift and shimmer with the slightest movement. The science behind the peacock's coloration is as fascinating as the visual effect itself. Unlike pigment-based colors, the blues, greens, and purples of peacock feathers are structural colors created by the precise arrangement of microscopic platelets within the feather barbules. These platelets are spaced at specific intervals that correspond to different wavelengths of light, creating interference patterns that produce the brilliant iridescence we observe. This mechanism allows the colors to change depending on the viewing angle and lighting conditions, creating a dynamic display that captures and holds attention. The peacock's body plumage is equally remarkable, though often overshadowed by the grandeur of the train. The neck and breast feathers display a rich blue-green iridescence that rivals any precious gemstone. The bird's crest, a delicate crown of narrow feathers tipped with small barbules, adds an element of regal bearing to the overall appearance. Even the seemingly plain back and wing feathers serve important functions, providing the cryptic coloration necessary for camouflage when the bird is not displaying. Female peahens, while lacking the spectacular train of their male counterparts, possess their own subtle beauty. Their mottled brown and gray plumage provides excellent camouflage during nesting season, while their sleek profiles and alert postures speak to their intelligence and awareness. The sexual dimorphism in peafowl is extreme, with males being significantly larger and more colorful than females, a clear indication of the role sexual selection has played in shaping these birds. The art of display. Nature's greatest show. The peacock's courtship display represents one of nature's most elaborate performances. When attempting to attract a mate, the male positions himself strategically and begins the ritualistic fanning of his train. The process starts slowly, with the bird gradually lifting and spreading the magnificent feathers while simultaneously vibrating the entire structure to create a rustling sound that can be heard from considerable distances. The fully displayed train creates a semicircular backdrop of shimmering eyes and iridescent colors that seems to pulsate with life. The peacock positions himself so that sunlight catches the feathers at optimal angles, enhancing the visual impact of his display. He then begins a series of choreographed movements, stepping backward and forward, turning to show different angles of his plumage, and emitting deep, resonant calls that carry across the landscape. Research has revealed that peahens are remarkably discerning in their mate selection, paying attention to details that might escape casual human observation. They evaluate not just the size and coloration of the train, but also the symmetry of the eye spots, the quality of the feather condition, and the vigor of the display behavior. Males with larger, more symmetrical trains and more vibrant colors typically enjoy greater reproductive success, validating Darwin's theory of sexual selection. The energy cost of maintaining such elaborate plumage is enormous. Peacocks must consume high-quality foods rich in proteins and carotenoids to maintain their feathers' condition and coloration. During molting season, which typically occurs after breeding, males lose their trains entirely and must regrow them over several months. This annual cycle represents a significant investment of energy and resources, underscoring the importance of the train in the peacock's reproductive strategy. Daily life and behavior. Beyond the display. While the courtship display captures most of the attention, peacocks lead complex lives filled with varied behaviors and adaptations. These birds are primarily ground dwellers, spending most of their time foraging for food on forest floors, grasslands, and cultivated areas. Their diet is remarkably diverse, including seeds, fruits, insects, small reptiles, and amphibians. This omnivorous feeding strategy has contributed to their success in various habitats and their ability to adapt to human-modified landscapes. Peacocks are highly social birds outside of the breeding season, often forming loose flocks that provide safety in numbers. These groups maintain complex social hierarchies, with dominant males claiming the best feeding and roosting sites. Communication within the flock occurs through a variety of vocalizations, from the famous loud calls that can carry for miles to subtle alarm signals that alert other birds to potential dangers. The daily routine of a peacock begins before sunrise, when the birds descend from their roosting sites in trees to begin foraging. They are most active during the cooler hours of early morning and late afternoon, seeking shade and remaining relatively inactive during the heat of midday. Their powerful legs and feet make them excellent ground foragers, capable of scratching through leaf litter and soil to uncover hidden food sources. Despite their terrestrial lifestyle, peacocks retain strong flight capabilities, though they prefer to use flight as an escape mechanism rather than for long-distance travel. When threatened, they can launch themselves into powerful, if brief, flights that carry them to safety in nearby trees. Their roosting behavior is equally impressive, with entire flocks gathering in large trees at dusk, creating spectacular congregations of color and sound. Habitat and distribution. Masters of adaptation. Native peacocks originally inhabited the dense forests and woodland edges of the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. The Indian peacock, Pavo cristatus, ranges from India and Sri Lanka through Myanmar, while the green peacock, Pavo muticus, occupies territories from Myanmar through Southeast Asia to Java. These natural ranges encompass diverse habitats, from tropical rainforests to deciduous woodlands, grasslands, and agricultural areas. The adaptability of peacocks has allowed them to thrive in various environments, though they show strong preferences for areas that provide a combination of open foraging grounds and tall trees for roosting. They require access to water sources and favor locations with diverse vegetation that supports varied food sources. Traditional habitats often feature a mosaic of forest patches, grasslands, and cultivated areas that provide optimal conditions for feeding, nesting, and predator avoidance. Climate plays a crucial role in peacock distribution and behavior. These birds are adapted to tropical and subtropical conditions, requiring warm temperatures and seasonal rainfall patterns that support the vegetation and invertebrate populations upon which they depend. The monsoon seasons in their native ranges coincide with breeding periods, when abundant food resources support the energy demands of reproduction and feather growth. Human activities have significantly impacted peacock populations and distributions. While some populations have benefited from the creation of agricultural areas that provide additional feeding opportunities, others have suffered from habitat loss and fragmentation. The conversion of forests to agricultural land and urban development has reduced available habitat, while hunting pressure in some regions has further stressed wild populations. Breeding and life cycle, the next generation. The breeding season for peacocks typically coincides with the onset of monsoon rains, when food resources are most abundant and environmental conditions are optimal for raising young. Males establish territories and begin their elaborate courtship displays, often maintaining the same display sites year after year. These territories are carefully chosen locations that offer good visibility for displays while providing nearby resources and escape routes. Female peahens are seasonal breeders, typically laying clutches of 3 to 5 eggs in ground nests constructed in dense vegetation or concealed locations. The nests are simple scrapes lined with grass, leaves, and feathers, strategically placed to minimize detection by predators. The cryptic coloration of the female provides excellent camouflage during the 28-day incubation period, during which she rarely leaves the nest except for brief feeding trips. Peacock chicks, called pea-chicks, are precocial, meaning they are born with down feathers and are capable of walking and feeding shortly after hatching. Despite this early mobility, they remain dependent on their mother for protection and guidance for several months. The female leads her brood to feeding areas, teaches them to recognize appropriate foods, and provides vigilant protection against the numerous predators that threaten young peafowl. The development of young peacocks is a fascinating process that spans several years. Male chicks begin to show subtle differences in plumage during their first year, but the full development of the spectacular train takes 3 to 4 years. This extended maturation period reflects the enormous energy investment required to produce and maintain the elaborate plumage that defines adult males. Cultural significance. Birds of myth and legend. Throughout human history, peacocks have captured imaginations and inspired cultural expressions across diverse civilizations. In Hindu mythology, the peacock is associated with Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity, and serves as the mount of Kartikeya, the god of war. The bird's ability to consume venomous snakes without harm led to associations with protection and the triumph of good over evil. Ancient Greek and Roman cultures also revered peacocks, associating them with Hera and Juno respectively. The eyes on the peacock's tail were said to represent the 100 eyes of Argus, the watchful giant of Greek mythology. This connection with vigilance and all-seeing wisdom made the peacock a symbol of immortality and renewal, themes that resonated across Mediterranean cultures. In Christian symbolism, the peacock came to represent resurrection and eternal life, based on the ancient belief that peacock flesh did not decay. Medieval and Renaissance art frequently featured peacocks in religious contexts, their brilliant plumage serving as metaphors for the glory of creation and the promise of spiritual transformation. The influence of peacocks extends far beyond religious and mythological contexts. These birds have inspired countless works of art, from ancient mosaics and tapestries to modern paintings and sculptures. Their images grace everything from royal coats of arms to contemporary fashion designs, testament to their enduring appeal as symbols of beauty and magnificence. Conservation challenges. Protecting nature's masterpiece. Despite their cultural significance and widespread recognition, peacock populations face numerous conservation challenges in the modern world. Habitat loss remains the primary threat, as expanding human populations convert natural areas to agricultural and urban uses. The fragmentation of forest habitats isolates peacock populations, reducing genetic diversity and limiting their ability to adapt to environmental changes. Hunting pressure poses another significant threat in some regions, where peacocks are targeted for their meat, feathers, and perceived medicinal properties. While legal protection exists in many countries, enforcement is often inadequate, particularly in remote areas where monitoring is difficult. The illegal trade in peacock feathers and live birds continues to impact wild populations despite international regulations. Climate change presents emerging challenges for peacock conservation, as shifting rainfall patterns and temperature regimes alter the habitats upon which these birds depend. Changes in monsoon timing and intensity can disrupt breeding cycles and food availability, while extreme weather events pose direct threats to populations and their habitats. Conservation efforts for peacocks have taken various forms, from habitat protection and restoration to captive breeding programs and community-based conservation initiatives. Protected areas play crucial roles in maintaining viable wild populations, while corridors connecting fragmented habitats help maintain genetic flow between isolated groups. The future of peacocks. Balancing beauty and survival. Looking toward the future, the fate of peacocks will largely depend on humanity's ability to balance development pressures with conservation needs. These magnificent birds have demonstrated remarkable adaptability throughout their evolutionary history, but the pace and scale of modern environmental changes present unprecedented challenges. Successful peacock conservation will require integrated approaches that address habitat protection, human-wildlife conflict mitigation, and sustainable development practices. Community involvement is essential, as local people often hold the key to effective conservation through their land use decisions and attitudes toward wildlife. Educational programs that highlight the ecological and cultural importance of peacocks can help build support for conservation efforts. Technological advances offer new tools for peacock research and conservation. GPS tracking studies are revealing detailed information about peacock movements and habitat use, while genetic analyses are providing insights into population structure and connectivity. Remote sensing technologies enable monitoring of habitat changes over large areas, supporting more effective conservation planning. The role of zoos and captive breeding programs cannot be overlooked in peacock conservation. These institutions maintain genetic reserves of peacock populations while conducting research that benefits wild birds. Educational programs in zoos introduce millions of people annually to peacocks, fostering appreciation and support for conservation efforts. Conclusion. Celebrating nature's living rainbow. The peacock stands as a testament to the extraordinary creativity and beauty inherent in the natural world. From their evolutionary origins in the forests of Asia to their global recognition as symbols of magnificence, these remarkable birds embody the wonder and complexity of life on Earth. Their story encompasses themes of adaptation, survival, beauty, and the intricate relationships between species and their environments. As we face an uncertain environmental future, peacocks remind us of what we stand to lose if we fail to protect the natural world. Their iridescent plumage serves as a mirror, reflecting our own capacity for appreciation of beauty and our responsibility as stewards of the planet's biodiversity. The challenge before us is to ensure that future generations will continue to witness the spectacular display of a peacock in full regalia, its train spread wide like a living rainbow against the backdrop of a thriving natural world. In observing peacocks, we are reminded that evolution is not merely about survival, but about the creation of beauty, complexity, and wonder. These birds have invested millions of years in perfecting their extraordinary displays, and in doing so, they have enriched our world immeasurably. Our task now is to ensure that this investment continues to pay dividends for both peacocks and the countless other species that share their habitats. The majestic life of a peacock is ultimately a celebration of life itself, vibrant, complex, and endlessly fascinating. In protecting peacocks and their habitats, we protect not just a species, but a symbol of the natural world's capacity to inspire, amaze, and humble us with its boundless creativity. The peacock's train, with its hundreds of shimmering eyes, watches over us still, asking whether we will prove worthy of the beauty we have been privileged to witness and the responsibility we have inherited to preserve it for the future.